This video is about muscle contraction. So muscle contraction is used to do any activities, take notes, throw something, just anytime your muscles contract. This occurs in the muscle fibers, and there are parts of muscle fibers called myofibrils, and myofibrils contain sarcomeres. So sarcomeres are contracting units which make up the myofibrils, and these contracting units contain Z lines, which are these, and M lines, and then attached to these are actin and myosin. Myosin are thick filaments which attach to the M line, which would be right there. It's not really up to scale. And then actin are the thin filaments which attach to the Z line. So these are pretty much, we have thick attached to M, and then we have thin attached to the Z, etc. Continues like that. And that is what makes up the striated content of skeletal muscle. And if we want to look closer at these, this is the myosin. And they have the myosin filaments, which we will later discuss. And then there's the actin, which contains this black stuff is called tropomyosin. And then the green is troponin. And I'll explain the functions of those later. Okay. So now we know what the sarcomere is, makes up the myofibrils, responsible for contracting. What happens for a muscle to contract is the thick and thin filaments, the myosin and the actin, they slide inward. The whole sarcomere slides inward, contracts, therefore contracting a muscle. So, next question, how does this occur? What in the body makes this happen? Well, first, when you need a muscle to contract, the nervous system sends a message down to the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and that is where the calcium ions are. So the nervous system sends down the signal, says, hey, we need this muscle to contract, please release some calcium ions so that's possible. So, why do we need calcium ions? Well, pretend the yellow is calcium, but pretend it's not on there. Right now, we have the tropomyosin, which is the black. It is covering all the binding sites. And that won't work because we need the myosin to attach to these binding sites to slide it so that the contraction can occur. So when calcium comes, it attaches to the troponin, which is the green, and that causes the tropomyosin, the black part, causes it to, in a way, sort of, let's say, unravel and open up the binding sites. So now they're free. Well, what happens then? Now we have free binding sites on here. And the myosin has these myosin filaments which come up, attach to the binding sites, and allow the actin to slide. And this sliding motion occurs within here. So this grabs this and makes it slide in. And that's what causes the overall contraction of the whole sarcomere, which contracts muscles. So in order for muscles to contract, calcium needs to come in to unravel the tropomyosin, open up the binding spots so myosin can then bind to it, slide it, and contract the muscle. The sliding of the actin by the myosin, that is known as the sliding filament theory. So that is what causes the contraction. So we know what happens at the actin. Once calcium attaches, once the yellow attaches, tropomyosin unravels, binding sites are open, myosin filaments can attach. Now we'll discuss what happens at the myosin, which allows the filament to come up and attach to the actin. So, our bodies produce energy, and we know that is ATP. So the body has ATP, and it comes up to the myosin, attaches here, and then it hydrolyzes into ADP and phosphate. So once that happens, that allows the myosin filament to come up, and that's when it attaches to the actin binding sites, creating the cross bridge. And then a new ATP comes in, attaches to the myosin, pulls it down, and then it just continues, creating this contracting motion which contracts the muscles. So now that we know what causes muscular contraction, we can talk about rigor mortis. Rigor mortis occurs after a person has died and all their muscles stiffen up, the body becomes super hard and stiff. So what do you think causes this? Well, knowing that ATP moves the myosin filaments up to attach to the actin and contract the muscle, we know that new ATP comes, attaches back to the myosin, pulls it down, and relaxes the muscle. But when a person dies, they don't create ATP. There is no more energy. They're dead. Oops. That's okay. So, what happens when a person dies? ATP comes before they die, contracts the muscles. Muscles are contracted. Well, then they die. So there's no ATP to come and relax the muscles. So the muscles stay contracted. When all the muscles in the body stay contracted, since they're contracted, they're hard. Therefore, the body becomes hard and stiff. So that is muscle contraction and its relation to rigor mortis. Hope you enjoyed.